Welcome to
Yes.
welcome to this great gathering. My name is Sen Rajiv. I head a Spanish consortium of MEP products for the Middle East and SAARC countries. I'm the National Vice President of Triple ID. I'll be leading you through the sessions today. Why I said in the beginning, great gathering is because 6 organizations have all come together, and these 6 organizations complete all aspects of a built environment, as the subject says. So it's one forum, one aim, one agenda towards a common future. Let me first start by welcoming all the guests whose presence here endorses your support to this venture. Let me formally now welcome the 6 associations, CREDAI, ISHRE, IPA, IGBC, FSAI, and Triple ID. Let us now hear from each of the associations, and we start in the alphabetical order with CREDAI. Mr. Harshvardhan Patodia is unable to join us, but the CREDAI philosophy under his leadership this tenure is committed to strengthen the Indian real estate with the adoption of technology and built-in performance, oriented and customer-centric values to a sector, along with a focused development of the realty sector in 2, 3, 4 tier cities. In efforts to pace the CREDAI's growth, they also the foundation to lay the CREDAI Startup Angel Network Incubation and Acceleration Center to support the startups in the real estate sector. Today, CREDAI is represented by Abhishek Batawara, who is the director of Rohan Group, an organization involved in residential, industrial, and commercial construction. The group also have investments in startups spanning sectors including clean energy, protech, education, technology, healthcare. Mr. Abhishek is involved in CREDAI activities over the last few years in various capacities. A postgraduate from IIM Indore with an engineering degree. We would love to hear Mr. Abhishek talk about the views of CREDAI and how the organization is going to support Satsang and to the subject. Let's restrict these speakers from 4 to 5 minutes and welcome Abhishek to this Zoom conference.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you for the opportunity. On behalf of CREDAI, I'd like to thank you everyone and welcome to this program. Just to give you a brief background of CREDAI. So CREDAI is an apex body of private real estate developers in India. It was established in 1999 with a vision of transforming the landscape of Indian real estate industry and a mandate to pursue the cause of housing and habitat. Today, CREDAI represents over 13,000 plus developers across 217 city chapters in 21 states and plays an important role in policy formulation by representing the views of its members to various ministries at regular intervals. CREDAI strives to make the real estate industry organized and progressive by working closely with all stakeholders, government representatives, policymakers, investors, finance companies, consumers, real estate professionals, and all the other people on this platform as well. CREDAI is a recognized partner for the government and is represented on several committees working in policy formulation. CREDAI also works on a social development agenda focused on welfare of construction workers through its skill development initiative and encourages its members to take up environment-friendly construction practices, also looking at the SDGs and ESG frameworks. CREDAI has trained more than 2 lakh construction workers and youth under its skill development initiative and works closely as a promoter with NSDC and Construction Sector Skill Council in content development for job roles in the construction sector. CREDAI Youth Wing and the Women's Wing encourage skill of developers to engage actively in various facets of real estate development, thereby creating a platform for next-gen real estate developers. Mr. Harshvardhan Patodia, President, CREDAI National, has pressed upon the need to implement environmentally friendly construction practices that reduce the carbon footprint for all residents considerably. The idea is to adopt approaches and technologies that will create spaces that utilize various environmental resources and lay a path to near zero carbon footprint. I must take this opportunity to congratulate Triple ID and all the other associations on behalf of CREDAI that have come together to form Satsang and explore areas that we all can collaborate and work together. I'm sure that today's panel discussion will help us identify a common goal and lay a path to get there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abhishek. Now is the time for the organization FSAI. May I welcome Mr. Suresh Menon. It says these associations get you connected to people. Through this association, I found that me and Suresh are from the same place back home. Suresh has held various posts with FSAI and today is the National President of Fire and Security Association of India. He's an electronics engineer from Manipal Institute of Technology, holds a marketing management degree. He started his career with Rallies India, worked in Tata Group companies like Forbes, Eureka, Forbes. His involvement in the fire and security industry goes way back to 1988, when he was a part of the team which set up India's most modern electronic security system manufacturing plant for the Tatas. As a head of the security division, he was responsible in establishing India's first chain of central monitoring stations across the country way back in 1998-99. Later, he was a leading system integrator of fire security and building automation and winner of Frost and Sullivan Awards. Currently, he's a pure man. May I welcome you, Suresh, to this function.
Thank you, Mr. Rajiv. Respected National Chairman of IGBC, National Presidents of CRIDAI, IIID, ISHRE, and IPA, eminent keynote speakers of the day, Architect Sandeep Shikre, Architect Ravindra Kumar, team of expert panelists from all our associations, all the participants on this program. I bring to you the Independence Day greetings from the members of Fire and Security Association of India. Thanks to the initiative of IIID President Madam Zabin, 1 year ago when the whole country was under lockdown, 6 associations which form the backbone of built environment came together on a platform called Satsang. Well, the objective was to create a platform to exchange ideas among the 6 pillars and create an integrated approach. During last 1 year, we had meetings and programs. All these deliberations have led us to today's event, integrated approach to built environment, which in a way very aptly summarizes the purpose of Satsang. As India is surging ahead, it is important for all of us to realize that how an integrated approach towards a built environment will help in accelerating this progress. While every element of Satsang is important, I am here to discuss the role of fire safety and security. To begin with, let me take this opportunity to introduce Fire and Security Association of India. FSAI is a non-profit organization established in 2002, representing the fire protection, life safety, security, building automation, loss prevention, and risk management domains. FSAI's basic objective is to spread awareness of life safety and security. Currently, we have about 8,500 members from 24 chapters across India. Besides seminars, expos, trainings, all of which we conduct regularly like any other engineering society, one of our pet projects is to educate school children to handle emergencies like fire. A year before COVID, we had covered around 480,000 students across India in our pursuit towards our vision, Surakshit Bharat. With an idea to inculcate the habit of safety at early stages of life, we are determined to continue the school program as and when the school starts functioning normally. We also have students chapters in the engineering college across the country. While most of the services are taught as a part of the curriculum, exposure to fire and safety and security is still missing in our engineering colleges. Our effort is to plug this gap through this initiative of student chapters and student development labs at these centers. Safety and security for women is important for the growth of the country. Surakshit Bharat is not possible without Surakshit Nari. Our women's wing is doing their bit towards this direction through trainings, self-defense sessions, street plays, road shows, etc. And with the reference to the topic of today's discussion, I would like to introduce you all to the FSAI's Suraksha Index. This is a process of auditing and indexing the buildings for fire, life safety, and security. This is our way of recognizing a fire-safe building. I must thank today's keynote speaker, architect Sandeep, for suggesting us this concept sometime back in one of our conferences. In our pursuit to build sustainable buildings, we should always strive to keep occupants safe from fires and to limit its impact on the environment. I know it is not easy, but it is possible to work towards both these goals simultaneously. Remember, fire resilience is one of the crucial parameters towards sustainability of a building. In conclusion, I would say, let us make safety a way of life. Stay safe, stay healthy, and above all, stay positive. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Suresh. It's my pleasure now to welcome Mr. Masudevan Suresh. Normally, when I meet people, I used to say that I have rich 30 years experience in the MEP sector, and I was feeling good about it. Until I met Mr. Suresh, one of the, I wouldn't say one of the tallest figures in the industry, I would say the tallest figure in the industry, because 53 years of experience in housing, urban development, infrastructure, real estate sectors, and sustainable growth in housing, innovative infrastructure. Is a member of the Housing and Real Estate Committee of IMC RICS. Is the chairman of CII Indian Green Building Council, chairman of Indian Green Cities Rating Committee, chairman of BIS Housing Committees. Technically very sound, so I don't indulge much in technical discussions with him because I will realize how ignorant I am. He has received 16 awards and recognition. He's the president, Good Governance, Indian Foundation for Good Urban Governance Initiative for meeting the challenges of urbanization and making smart, green, and vibrant cities. Welcome, Suresh, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Rajiv, for the wonderful introduction of everybody and all our partners here. And a very warm welcome to all the distinguished participants who all joined from 6 major associations who are dealing in the sector of the built environment. And thanks to the spirit of Jabin, we have been having the Independence Day spirit being brought forward. We would have done it on the 15th, but we are doing it under that particular one of the way that India is surging forward on its growth in a large way. And there's major contribution to built environment by all the organizations put together. And more importantly, to create this wonderful platform of Satsang as a single point agenda with everybody talking one vision on that. And that's on the holistic approach towards sustainability or integrated approach to built environment. It means the same, to cover that. And thanks to the continuous support that we got from all the stakeholders, like all of you, and our organization, which I represent, the Indian Green Building Council, 21 years old baby, and 126 years of the CIS background there. India stands tall amongst the nations in the largest registered green building footprint in a large way. And ladies and gentlemen, India's IGBC's vision towards sustainability is to enable a sustainable built environment to all and facilitate India to be one among the global leaders for sustainable built environment by 2025. We are pretty close, nearing those particular area. And we have been able to do this particular thing in a good way because we covered not only green buildings there, but also green built environment. So major one as an organization to cover not only the micro level, but also at the macro level in a big way. Needless to say, it has been possible to do nearly around 6,800 projects, about 8 billion square feet of green footprint of all the asset classes, including all the facilities, amenities, anything that you want, we are there participating, including on the mobility side, even at the city level, rating in a large way. And with all your continued support, as well as the leadership in green building movement, I'm sure we should be able to march towards the 10 billion square feet or 1,000 crore square feet for India at 75. That's next year. We are on the track. And we have been able to do this because we have been having a very seasoned rating system, nearly 28 in number, covering each one of the organizations' background here. And each one of them are in line with the UN Sustainable Development Goal. All the 17 goals we have captured there. And we have been working with a large network, pan-India work. Over 30,000 professionals are involved in this work of the green building movement. We have over 28 chapters working in this particular sector. Our students' reach is phenomenal. Over 311 student chapters are there covering architectural, engineering, environmental group, MEP background, everybody. And according to me, they are the most important one to whom, if you can put the seeds, India and ideas in their mind over a period of time, India's growth will come in a large way, and more so in the next 30 years' time, which is what we keep in view, our 2030 agenda and a 2050 agenda. Our accredited professionals of the IGBC are also doing very well, over 5,500, will be 10,000 by next year. And IGBC is working very close with the World Green Building Council. And we represent India in the World Green Building Council. 70 countries are there. And we are working pretty close to the vision of climate goals agenda as well. And the vision of India is to become the foremost countries in transforming the net zero carbon by 2050. And I'm very happy on the World Earth Day on 22nd of April of this year, we had this mission started. We had 300 signatories plus coming over this particular moment, representing all the stakeholders in this particular sector. To very briefly put across what are the big ideas that we think of: a holistic water conservation on integrated water management, rainwater harvesting, aquifer recharging, every drop of water being done, recycling. I'm sure you get more of this particular thing from my dear colleague Gurmeet, because he'll represent IPA. We are very closely working with them on all aspects of water to be saved in a large way. And also green cover to be put across, and in the climate change concept is a very important one. Can we give 8 square meter per person of everybody? We are at present about 2.5 to 3, and a 30% green cover to be organized for the country, for all our projects, so that the heat island effect, the occupant well-being, and the quality of life gets substantially. Can we be like Singapore, like cities within a forest or cities with green cover? Now, that's a very major message. Energy, a major thrust areas in a large way. Energy efficiency of a major one, about 35 to 45% energy savings. You can bring it over there, be it in respect of the equipment or the appliances or lighting or efficient glazing or using the renewable energy in a very large way. The Honorable Prime Minister on the Independence Day, he brought this wonderful message of the ambitious goal of 450 gigawatt of energy. We are already 100 gigawatt, and we are trying to push through that in all our particular projects, renewable energy of all nature in a big way. And more importantly, also the India energy independent by 2047, and also net zero rail emission and global green hydrogen hub in India. All of them are becoming, everything under the whole image of green. Anything you do on energy, it lead to carbon footprint reduction large way. Passive design, a very major one, using Surya Bhagavan in the best possible way. Use it well for the light and not the heat and the glare. How do you do that particular thing and get not only lighting, but also ventilation, enhanced quality of life will come. And also, most important, the building blocks. The building blocks for the next 30 years will not be the same as we used to do in the last 70 years, because the new idea of lower dependency of embodied energy. Now, embodied energy is a very major component, not only operational energy, and that's in the building blocks and the building material. And we are working very closely on all those options available, including the Green Pro Eco Label products for building construction. That will leave us the last element of the thing on waste management. And our whole idea is waste to wealth, refuse to resource, or trash to cash. And therefore, segregation and utilizing every component of that. And this was also told by the Honorable Prime Minister in a big way of single plastic ban, a circular economy to be brought in, and waste management as a main thing as part of Swachh Bharat mission as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you put up all these together, we come down to 4 major components of a net zero energy, net zero water, net zero waste, and net zero carbon. And what is good is IGBC is geared up to all 2 of them already rating out. The 3rd one is going to come in September, and the last one coming in October. And I'm happy that the net zero carbon one, you're one of your keynote speaker, that is Sandeep Shikar, chairman for that. I'm happy that he may touch on that. I'm very happy that with sustainable development goal to the year 2030 and the climate change agenda of 2050, both these things are very, very important. This is what in front of us, the 2 major goalposts which are there, and we have to work towards that particular goalpost in a large way for a decarbonized India as well as SDG India. And I'm sure with each one of you as part of a wonderful coalition of activity, we will reach there together. Thank you very much for joining, and very happy that we are part of this great coalition or a platform or a satsang. We'll work towards that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suresh, for this enlightening talk, Suresh, sir. Now it's a pleasure to welcome a good friend of many years, Mr. Gurmeet Singh Arora from the Indian Plumbing Association. He is the managing director of Rajco Group, which is a manufacturing facility of copper tubes, fittings, and aligned products. He has been with IPA for the last 27 years and is the national president for the Indian Plumbing Association. He's a founding trustee and secretary function. He's a national vice chairman of the CIA India Green Building Council. He's a founding member and senior fellow of Indian Green Building Council. Mr. Singh has achieved several milestones. To name a few, he has received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Indian Plumbing Association, honored by the Builders Association of India, honored by the Brigham Mumbai Licensed Plumbers Association, India Waterworks Association, India Pump Manufacturers Association. The list goes on and on. Gurmeet Singh is, as I mentioned, is a national vice president of CIIGBC. He joined the Green Building Movement in 2001 and has been a part of the movement since inception as a founding member. IGBC today not only has the largest green footprint in the country at 7.2 billion square feet, but is number 2 worldwide. He has worked in many leadership positions in IGBC. It's a pleasure to welcome.
Thank you, Rajiv. I think that's enough.
Enough, no? Thank you.
Well, IGBC is at 7.83 billion square feet. We are number 3 worldwide. I'll correct that. I also represent the Indian Plumbing Association, which is a not-for-profit making association. We have 23 main city chapters, and we are working to redefining plumbing standards in India, ensuring that all plumbing installations are not only codal-based, but optimize the use of water. Our codes run into more than 1,300 pages. NBC is 220 pages, by the way, because plumbing is a science. Our codes are adopted from IAPMO USA, but are completely indigenized, revised by a technical committee, which I also chair, in 2008, 11, 14, and 17. So every full stop and comma is checked in these codes, and these codes are dedicated towards Indian plumbing systems. Plumbing has evolved into a science due to the intricacies and requirements for clean water in a building, especially when we build eye to sky. We are building 100-story, 50-story. It's a completely different ball game with zoning, control of pressures and flow rates, and in supply of clean, disease-free water, and in taking away your waste in a hygienic manner. Now, when I talk of disease-free water, please understand, ladies and gentlemen, 70% of the communicable diseases like leptospirosis, cholera, SARS, typhoid, polio, hepatitis A are transmitted, and many more, 70% are transmitted through bad quality of water. Therefore, if your water quality is not good, you are going to get into problems. And that's where plumbing plays a very important role. Diarrhea takes away 3,000 children every day, even today in our modern society. That is even bigger than AIDS, cancer, or COVID-19.
Yeah, some. What a network.
What's happened?
Some network issue looks like.
Mr. Gurmeet is cut off, I presume.
We can go to the next, then he can come back to complete.
Yeah. Harsha, are you there? Can I move on?
I just went off. Can I carry on, Rajiv? Or?
Yes, please. No,
I'm
you
sorry.
can carry on. Yeah.
So I was talking about India having 17% of the world's population, but only 4% of its fresh water. If you go to Bengaluru, you have to go down 500 meters to 800 meters to touch the water table. I'm talking of 2,500 feet. You go to Chennai, you have to go down 300 meters or 1,000 feet to touch the water table. So what are we doing to our cities? We are becoming water scarce. We are becoming water bankrupt. And there is certainly a lot that we can do together. In Mumbai, where I stay, municipal corporation only gives me 135 liters of water. And still we have the audacity to go and sing under the shower thinking we are Mohammad Rafi or Lata Mangeshkar. Still we have the audacity to use our WC, our potty, our flush as an ashtray or as a dustbin, and there we go and the water goes away. Or I have a Bartan Wali Bai who comes to my house. She's good looking, so she flirts with the servants and she's washing the utensils and the water is going off. 200 liters gone out of my 135 liters. So it's very important when you shave, you brush, you wash, you must close your tap. Please stop the tap when you're not using that water. What is the actual cost of water? It's a political issue. You pay 100 rupees for petrol, but the actual cost of water is hardly anything. It's very, we pay, we are so conscious. We had Sachin Tendulkar come once for IGBC program, Bat for a Cleaner Planet. And he said, we are so used to switching off the lights that my wife and I, Anjali, are watching TV and my children leave the room to switch off the light and we have to tell them, hey, listen, we are still sitting here. So like this, we must preserve all our water. And as Mr. Suresh said, we have to ultimately go towards net zero water and net zero waste in all our projects. It's possible. We have a lot of projects certified which are net zero on water. Basically, four pillars. The most important pillar is education and awareness. Second important pillar, rainwater harvesting, harness every drop of water. Third important pillar, we have sufficient water in India. Our rivers are polluted. 55% of the water in New Delhi, our own proud capital, is only treated. 45% is put into the Yamuna untreated. You have microplastics, millions of microplastics in the sea causing cancer, and this is going to cause cancer even to all the fish eaters. So we have to certainly stop polluting our water systems, and that is where IPA comes in. We are here to train all the associations free of cost. We don't want any money from you. But we can train you in plumbing codes, how to install plumbing, how to make sure that you become net zero without adding on much cost, because you will do it in the beginning of your project. So whether it's IGBC, all asset classes of buildings need water and sanitation, whether it's CREDAI, whether it's ISHRE, you need water-cooled, geothermal, cooling towers, you need water. Designers have to ensure. I have a person in engineer family, very rich, 6,000 square feet flat in my building, and he has 6 nozzles on the wall. And I asked him, what are these nozzles for? They are for massaging my body. Are you going to massage your body with water when there's no water for tomorrow for your children to be there? All good-looking monsieur if you want, but please don't use water for massaging your body. Fire needs water. All the forest fires in California, Washington State, Spain, Italy, a lot of water required. CREDAI needs water. So IPA is the only organization which links all of us together. Water is required to ingest, cooking, hygiene, COVID-19 requirements, disinfection, hand washing. Even in your whiskey and coke, you need water. Whether it's ice or it's soda or water, you still need water. Right, Mr. Suresh Menon, you're smiling. 70% of water goes for agriculture. Less water means less food. You can grow your population, but if you don't grow your water, like Israel did, less water means less food. I'm going to explain to you why in 30 seconds. Water is needed for washing, plumbing, and water is needed as a virtual embedded commodity in every product you use. This telephone of mine has 1,500 liters of water. A t-shirt has 1,500 liters of water. 1 bar of chocolate requires 1,700 liters of water. Have you ever imagined that you are having a bar of chocolate and you are consuming 1,700 liters of water? And that Gabbar Singh says, 50-50 मील दूर माँ कहती है बच्चे को दूध पी लो नहीं तो गब्बर सिंह आ जाएगा. वो 250 ml दूध में 1/4 liter requires 140 liters of water. 1 banana requires 160 liters of water. So please understand, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's ISHRE, FSAI, IID, anybody, CREDAI, the IGBC, all of us personally have a certain water footprint. It's not to 135 liters per head per day. It's much, much larger. If you look at the products we use and throw and buy and use and throw, let us all become sustainable. I have learned a lot in this COVID period. I have given away 3 suitcases of clothes. I used to buy a new t-shirt for every seminar, a new shirt for every session of every seminar. And I've stopped doing that. I've decided next 2 years I'm not going to buy anything, because there is not only impeded water, but there's a cost to ecology, there's a cost to our planet. So ladies and gentlemen, let's work together towards sustainability and towards achieving the net zero goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gurmeet, for the good speech as always, and linking a lot of factors and finally reaching to whiskey. Let's now move on to ISHRE. I think Mr. Amitabh Sur, the national president, is not having good connectivity. He is the national president of ISHRE. He has been holding various positions, and he's now the national president. So I think we have N.S. Chandrasekhar, who is replacing him today. Mr. Chandrasekhar is a mechanical engineer from IIT Kanpur. He's a partner and certified energy auditor from Genex Consultants, Hyderabad. 38 years of experience in HVAC field, worked with top companies like Voltas, Carrier, and multinationals in the Middle East, Dubai, Bahrain, and Oman. Specialist in air conditioning designs of hospitals, labs, malls, hotels, offices, residences. Conducted training sessions and workshops in the field of HVAC for corporates. Active member of ISHRE and ASHRE. Recipient of Regional Service Award and Chapter Service Award by ISHRE. He has held various posts in ISHRE leadership roles and also in ASHRE leadership roles. May we take this opportunity to welcome Mr. N.S. Chandrasekhar.
Thank you, Mr. Rajiv. Am I audible?
Yes, very much.
Yeah, good. Good afternoon to everybody who is present here.
Yeah.
We have esteemed panelists, representatives from these 6 societies, and also wonderful delegates who are present here with us today in this Satsang. The very word gives us the feeling of an integrated approach to a built environment. The very word gives us the feeling that we need to have a sustainable environment. So that's where we go about. And I, representing Indian Society of Heating, Refrigerating and Air Conditioning Engineers, stand before you. As explained by Rajiv, Mr. Amitabh, the national president, is not able to join us today. I mean, in fact, he joined, but his connectivity is poor. And I'm currently the national president-elect at ISHRE. Allow me to share my screen. I hope I can. Is it visible?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, so today we are in the 40th year of ISHRE. It started, all this movement of ISHRE started about 40 years back in 1981. And in the year 2021, we have come a long way. And we heard from almost everybody in different associations how every association is important to a built environment. Many a time you can feel, you know very well, and you have experienced yourself that in any commercial establishment, HVAC today is become the order of the day. And when HVAC and R is become the order of the day, we know very well that it is something which consumes enough electrical energy or maximum electrical energy. And if we have to have a sustainable future, we need to have proper energy saving measures or energy conservation measures. So today, ISHRE's goal is working towards these energy conservation measures, and let us see how we go forward in that. Our vision is to be a leading body involved in meeting the technical training research requirements of HVAC and our industry and be its knowledge repository, actively engage with the building services industry. And to, in order to have this, achieve this vision, we have within us as the mission to promote the goals for the benefit of the general public. And in this objective, we participate in and organize activities to protect environment, improve indoor air quality, help energy conservation, and provide continuing education to members and others in the HVAC and related user industries. And also we have certification programs, career guidance to students at the local colleges and tertiary institutions. So this is our mission. And in order to achieve this vision and mission in all over India, we have chapters representing ISHRE. We have today 44 chapters all over India. We have close to 13,500 members who are representing these from all these chapters representing ISHRE. We have close to 250 plus student chapters and close to 11,000 plus student members. So this is completely, you can see, spread over all over India in about 44 cities everywhere. And the key objectives of all these chapters are technical content, research and innovation, skill development, education and certification, development of standards, which is a very important aspect, student activities. So all of these are the major technical activities. And in these technical activities, we have 40 plus publications, which is having a circulation of 10,000 plus. We have ISHRE research grants for close to 12.3 million rupees, if Indian rupees, we have given grants for making research. We have a journal which comes out, in which close to 1,200 plus technical articles have been published. We have 15,000 plus downloads of these articles. We have project grants. We have technical groups which are working to develop various standards, which are contributing to the technical aspect of it. And we have today 30 technical groups in various topics covering HVAC and R. We have various standards developed in IEQ, VRF, Chiller, AHU, and many more are being worked out. And many of you would be familiar with the ISHRE weather book, which has been published, which is covering over 250 cities. And today we are covering other places outside India also, like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal. And during this pandemic time, ISHRE was not keeping quiet. They brought out standards, which is called the COVID-19 guideline document, which was well appreciated all over the country, well appreciated by MEP, well appreciated by the medical fraternity and by the government, the COVID standards related to HVAC and R. We have knowledge bank in our website, which is describing the journal articles, HVAC and R dictionary, training videos are there, technical blogs are there, case studies are there, all of this are there. And in terms of education and certification, we want to certify the people, and for which we have got courses such as AEDC, which is the Advanced Engineering Diploma course. And we have ISHRE certified professional courses in clean room, AC design, AC service, HVAC commissioning, drafting, and we are working on many more. And that's where, and today we are also exploring the possibility, we have also brought out the possibility of e-learning opportunities in order to provide distance learning. And in terms of, it's many a time it is thought it is for professional engineers only, but then we are looking at profession for, or enhancing the skills of technicians and supervisors in terms of unitary products and VRF. And everywhere we have close to 50 plus distinguished lecturers who have been certified by ISHRE are giving lectures. We have short-term training workshops. So when I mentioned 11,000 plus student members are there, we bring out technical talks to them, industry visits to them, industry student research project grants, product showcases in colleges and multiple locations. Quiz programs are being conducted, and our program Ethos, which is conducted once a year, is a very well attended program all over India, which is done on chapter level and region level, and then at a national level. We have the wonderful competitions like student design competitions. And today, this year, we have brought out a new competition by name ISHRE Hackathon, which has also been launched recently. And this is how we are trying to engage the students, because we personally believe that students are the pillars of this industry, and we have to nurture them at the correct time into this industry. In the case of advocacy, we have government connect, industry engagements, and we are also with the associate societies. We are with academia in terms of interactions, and that reflects in terms of the 23 memorandum of understanding we have got with domestic societies like this, and also the memorandum of understanding with about 19 international societies. We also have a business listing website by name Searcho, wherein the products are listed. And it is slowly becoming the directory for who is who or what is what the products in HVAC and R. When HVAC industry is growing from projected to grow from $68 billion in 2020 to $81 billion in 2027, ISHRE makes sure these technologies are all brought out and showcased by the yearly exhibition of ACREX, which is conducted in the major cities of Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore, and it is brought out by us. So you can see that we have close to, we have national programs. One of the programs is Urjavaran, which is in about 31 cities, 5,000 delegates or participate. And today this program is going international in terms of going to Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Kenya. And there are plenty of programs and national programs and webinars being conducted in order to make sure that our vision and mission is achieved. This year's theme by the national president is Lakshya, which is the lifelong learning, adapt best practices, knowledge enhancement, share and serve, harmonious growth, earn for excellence, and accomplish. So this is the Lakshya we have, and I'm sure with all this and with what we think that we have to work, make sure that there is an energy conservative, energy conscious environment and a sustainable environment is available. I am sure we societies like ISHRE can work together with all other societies. And I believe together we can and together we will. That's what I have for you. And I am very happy to be here, to be with you all today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chandrasekhar. You have covered a lot of points and aspects of ISHRE. Thank you very much. And as rightly said, during the COVID times, all of the organizations have contributed what it could to the betterment of the society. Now let me welcome Architect Jabin Zacharias, the president of IIID. Jabin Zacharias is the only lady president we had in IIID in the last 58 years. She's an architect and interior designer of national repute and from Kerala, India, graduated in architecture in 1984 from Trivandrum, finished her studies in interior design in New York, operates out of her practice in Cochin with satellite offices in New York, Dubai, and Bangalore. She has done quite a variety of projects, ranging from hotels, resorts to tall buildings, where with Meridian, Leela, Museum for the World Bank, showrooms, office institutions, etc., etc. She's a multifaceted artist and an activist. She's married to architect Lalachan Zacharias. And as a leader, she has been very active in our IIID for the last many years and has held various posts at the state and national level. And today she is the national president of our institute. And may I welcome Jabin Zacharias of the same association where I am the vice president. Welcome, Jabin.
Thank you so much, Rajiv. Welcome to each and every one of you. And congratulations on this great occasion of the week, 75th day of independence. Well, I'm sure you all know a little bit of IIID, Institute of Indian Interior Designers. We are now 48 years old. Soon we will be like 50. We believe that design is an instrument of change. Good spaces can shape good thoughts, and therefore good people who will know how to act for the good of the planet and of our times. Satsang is something which is a calling for me, particularly on the occasions like Independence Day or Republic Day. The few times when we actually sit back and think of us as a nation, our hearts swell up with pride. Our eyes well up a little bit with tears. And then we want to actually do something. But soon it is a sigh, and then we retire from our thoughts, we recede. Because alone, what can we do? This Independence Day, this time at least, we have a difference. We have 6 big organizations coming together And that really can give us a huge opportunity, means to do something, make some good change for the nation. I think it is Kalam who said, dream, dream, dream. Dream turns into thoughts and thoughts turn into action. Satsang is a big dream, planted, I think, on World Environment Day, June 1st, 2020. And today we are, after so many meetings, discussions on what we can do together with this promise that we will look beyond our organizations and look at what we can do together. If you look at design, because we are a design organization, honestly, I want to confess that I always thought in a project, the architect is the ultimate person, okay? We would design and we will ask our consultants to come in and ask them to do this and this and this. Those who can rise up to our requirements, they are really good. Those who can't, we have a judgment about them. But design now, if you look at it, is defined as anything which can better a situation. So from that point of view, designers, everything need to be redefined. Because today when we are designing even a small house, the situation which we are talking about is not about that 5 cents of land. It is not about their affordable budget. It is not about that particular microclimate. It is not about that culture, heritage, all those, so many things which we as architects and designers used to focus a lot on. Yes, it's all there. But the situation which we need to better is something different. It's the situation of our times, our people, our planet, the uncertainties we have to deal with. We have all listened to different definitions of satsang. Every time we meet, there is a good definition, very inspiring definition. So this time I thought, let me again look for a definition. And the definition was so nice. It said, a company in higher truths. Yes, there are truths and there are higher truths. The truths which we all deal in our immediate vicinity, with our profession, with our organization. Yes, that's our everyday truths. But as organizations who can really make a change, it is time that we look at the higher truths, where it's not about any of this. It's not about design. It's not about plumbing. It's not about ventilation, but how we all come together for the higher truth of life, people, and this planet for a safe, happy, sustainable living. And that's the promise of satsang. I'm so very happy that we were able to come together this much. And if at all I have any fear, that is the apprehension which I have. This platform has so much potential and power. It is like the sun itself, which radiates hope and life. This is actually something which can make the change, that change we need. Will we be able to understand the potential? Will we be able to rise up and do our best making use of this platform and this opportunity? Let us hope so. Today we have 2 powerful speakers and very interesting panelists. Let me not take any much of your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jabin. You are right, we're running past time. Now we have the guest speakers. We have 2 powerful guest speakers. Let me start with architect Sandeep Madhav Sikri. He's a president and CEO of Sandeep Sikri Associates, popularly known as SSA Architects. He's a known figure in the industry, needs no introduction, and whatever introduction I say will not be enough. But let me try to do my best. Architect Sandeep is the president and CEO, as I told you. He's the USGBC lead accredited professional. He has a deep commitment towards sustainable development and is the founding member of IGBC and also chairman of IGBC. He's a patron of the Council for Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat based out of Chicago, USA. It is an advisory committee for several firms. He is leading a very big practice of 250 plus young, dedicated, committed professionals. His firm specializes in urban renewal and high-rise projects that are designed with highly advanced technology and are functionally efficient. The ethos of SSO can be summed up into 3 simple words: architecture and beyond. This is based on Sandeep's belief that architecture cannot be limited to any style and encompassed. It has to be contextual, completely anchored in the program and style. Design has to create a meaning on site, which is both deep and broad, where lives are influenced and behavior shaped. Talking of the associations, memberships, and the awards, they run into a big list. Due to time shortage, I'm not mentioning it. It gives a great privilege, pleasure, and happiness to welcome Sandeep Sikri for his 15 minutes talk on this subject. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Rajiv. And firstly, let me compliment IIID and all the stalwarts who have done this brilliant initiative to bring all the stalwarts from the fraternity on one common forum. I think it is a need of an hour. And all the 6 leaders, they spoke so well. You know, each address was very knowledge-worthy. The passion, commitment, and the desire to serve to our fraternity was very well seen. And I'm extremely delighted to be here with my friend Ravi to give whatever worth that we can add to this particular forum. Let me share my screen. Yeah, just a minute for this. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, sounds good. Yeah. So as I said, lots of compliment for all the leaders to bring this particular initiative. Satsang, the name is also very appropriate. And it's a collaboration of a 6 major organization. I think all that begins well will go well and will definitely go to the better truth. As architect Sabine said, I loved her statement that going from truth to a better truth. So architecture, I would be speaking from an architect lenses where as an architect, we always feel that it is a creative science that combines art, engineering, and technology to develop a sustainable, functional, contextual, and most importantly, people-centric built environment. There's a new word that we have to add to this particular initiative is a resiliency. So it's a combination of a hard skill of aesthetical design ability and a soft skill of connecting people. And in a nutshell, it's all about designing a space for people and for their happiness. If you are able to achieve a happiness for the people, I think that's the best initiative for an integrated approach of a design. So when we talk about integrated, unified approach, now from the smart buildings, we have to move towards a smart neighborhood, to a smart city, and of course, towards a smart metropolitan region. All of us, we know what kind of a task we have. By 2030, all of us, we know that 40% of all our population would be focused into our urban areas. We have more than 416 million urban dwellers to be built, and the numbers are really astonishing. So what it means that we need to have a look at the exemplary performances and successes that has happened all around us. You could see what has happened in some of the cities in the United States. This is a picture of LA a few years back and what it is now. You see on the right-hand side a picture of London, which is there in 1995, and you can see the kind of a skyline that is added. Similarly, in Australia with Sydney and in China with Shanghai, and the story continues with also Southeast Asian countries, which is Seoul in South Korea and also in Japan. So one common thing in all of these cities that one could observe that they had a very robust, very thoughtful vision plan and a master plan. They worked with a proper master plan, spent a lot of time to lay down their requirements. That is something which is very much relevant to the integrated approach. And the city has grown in a very systematic and in a very appropriate manner. And that's how they are enjoying the best hygiene and the best benefits of their city growth. This is a skyline today, global skyline. all of us, we feel that the tall building is kind of a greed, but I personally feel it's not a greed, it's a need of today. I mean, if you see even in our country, all the megapolis, by naturally, I come from Mumbai, any average building today we are building are above 40 story. So I don't think that is a greed or an ego, but it's a need of a urbanization. And all that we all need to do is to address it in a more appropriate manner. You can also see architecture of today, which is very, very iconic. You have so many technologies and the softwares with you. So these are very high density, high rise, complex, intense building. So this is what is something that is on our platter. And I feel that every architect's office observes this process, which starts from a concept design to a schematic design to a design development, construction document, construction bidding, and a construction administration. So this particular process actually decides the complete fate of a built environment. And it's very important that this process has to be very inclusive. This has to be very collaborative. And we must ensure that all the stakeholders who are going to contribute and who would be the end users are sufficiently involved in all of these processes. You know, many of the good project proponents spend a good amount of time before the project takes off, and then they get into an actual design initiative. At our office, we call these are the 3 golden rules, pre-design studies. All consultant experts should be on a board on day 1 and use the best technology software. So pre-design studies also must be very comprehensive. You must understand the client's aspiration, vision. You must do a detailed socio-economical survey, all the environmental parameter, microclimate responses, physical surveys, understand the statutory rules, codes, and other standards that has to be applied, and most importantly, client's budget and timelines. So develop a very robust and a very thoughtful design program and a project design-based report. And these are the array of a multiple diverse talent that is required for any project. Like architect Jabin said, being an architect, we have been given that leadership, but many times I also feel guilty, and I must confess how many times we really take care of each of these people. So we made a rule 5 years back in our office. All of these people should be on board on a day 1, so that you take their very valid and very important things right at the inception of the project. You have a lot of softwares. Today, it is technology, which is there with you for the drawings and a 3D modeling. You have a wonderful softwares for the rendering and presentation. There are softwares to validate your scientific and engineering parameters. And of course, documentation is very important for a large size of a project. So you must take the fullest benefit of these softwares and ensure that your team is in sync with the current practices which are there in the market. Revit is one of the best tools. Revit gives you an idea right from pre-design stage up to as-built stage, going from LOD 100 to LOD 200 and so on. And the beauty of Revit that it can be compatible with BIM, where you have a basic model which gives you a 3 dimension. The 4th dimension that can be added is a timelines. The 5th dimension that can be added is a money. 6th dimension is a sustainability. And most importantly, this virtual digital tool goes into the hands of facility manager who's not doing any trial and error method of a built environment. They maintain, operate, and upgrade and scale up the property in a very judicious manner. So Iconics is one of the very important tool for the communication. All of you will agree with me that when it's a project of a large size, you have more than 400 to 500 technicians, technocrats, architects, and consultants working on it. That is added by the suppliers and the contractors. To bring all of them on a cloud-based documentation, it's very important that the documentation is also done in a very appropriate manner. And this is something that has really helped us in a large way. This is a very user-friendly software that should be utilized for especially for the large size and a complex projects. Now I will move on to a few case studies. This is one of the projects where we were blessed with a good client who wanted us to work on a LOD 300 to LOD 500. That means our Revit model then further was enhanced to the cost index, to the time index, and also to its entire sustainability index. 72-story building with 3 basements, 10 podiums, extremely complex building, having almost 3.8 million square foot on a piece of land, which is just 20,000 square meters, 28 times the built area on the plot. So imagine kind of a complexity it had. We had to ensure that all the clash is detected properly before it breaks the ground, because there is no time to do any mid-course correction for such a high density project. So this was an initiative over a period of 5 months where the entire built environment is captured into a digital model, each and every corner of it is tested, each and every component, may it be mechanical, electrical, plumbing, firefighting, has been captured. So client has an opportunity to do the proper value engineering and also manage the cost and time. So these are kind of today's best practices. And I think these are allowing us to bring all the talent together. Another project where we were blessed to have a tallest mixed use project. Now it's third tallest in country, 2.6 million square foot, right in the heart of the Mumbai city, which has a helipad on top of it, a tower which has offices, a retail block below, and the luxury hotel on top with the residential building around. So it has, again, a multiple involvement of structure, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, firefighting, facade, and so on. So it was very important for us to ensure that, again, we do this project on a software which can accommodate everybody's input and put together in a judicious manner. So this chart explains you the automatic climbing system, which can be worked out again in the digital model and so on. This talks about the kind of a facade studies where we have Mumbai being very high on cyclonic winds for a 6 kPa pressure. And what we could do is create a nice energy center where all our DG set, transformers, everything is accommodated. And through a tunnel, we give these supplies. So again, an example where everything was cracked on a software before it could break the ground, and then it was executed. The numbers are astonishing. 1 million liters of the water required every day, 34,500 square meter of ducting. So this kind of a scale is impossible for any human brain energies to contemplate and work. So again, what is the message here is to take care of these issues through a proper using of softwares. So we are happy that this building is going to see its launch very soon. It's complete flagship project in the city of Mumbai. And after a long time with a lot of efforts with several stalwarts, we would be seeing this project actually getting occupied. Some of the pictures of the project. That's a view from the worldly ceiling. And you can see the dashboard, the kind of numbers that it has. And I'm very happy and proud to say these are all our knowledge partners. Each one of them, they have a significant contribution for this particular architectural and engineering marvel. So all the stalwarts who were there, some of the leaders' names are here, but there are many unsung heroes who were also contributing to this project. Another best project, which I always like to discuss about, it's a Pearl tower on the bank of a Gonzao Pearl River. You know, this is something where an architect has done a great job. What is available to you when you go tall is a wind. So the shape of this particular building is designed in such a way that it's a kind of a sponge. It has those kind of a contours on the building, which allows you to have a wind harvesting. So all that wind which hits the facade of this building enhances the aerodynamic velocity of a wind and takes it to the mechanical floor where there are wind turbines. And those wind turbines generate renewable energy. So the tall building do not necessarily only consume, they can also generate. This is a great example of how one can think smartly. All other parameters of enhancement of a daylight, having a proper shading devices has been observed here. Many people thought that this may not happen. I was there for the CityBH conference and when this project was presented by SOM, but today you can see it's functioning exactly the way it was designed. Masdar city in Abu Dhabi, one of the city in extremely challenging conditions in Abu Dhabi, where all of us, we know it's very hot, dry, and having a temperature more than 40 degrees centigrade. But you can see the kind of built environment which has already been created there by all the stalwarts and the masters. So this is also craving for a net zero kind of a city. They haven't yet achieved the full success, but the kind of initiative that has been taken, I'm sure very soon we'll see they will achieve their target. You can see the kind of a mega compact kind of a planning where you have a large overhang of a roof. There's a wind cone which ensures that the natural ventilation with the evaporative cooling goes into the built environment. You have offices, you have an entertainment area, you have gardens, you have also the hotels, everything under one compact mega building. And also you can see it on the right-hand side, how the 100% energy can be mitigated almost to a net zero. So these are the kind of opportunities that we have with the science and technology with us, and we can see that it's actually happening. This is an actual picture where you can see in that extreme weather, the temperature at the courtyard is almost 6 to 7 degrees less than outside, and it's absolutely conducive. You can see even a vegetation growing up over there. This is a science and technology building, a beautiful microclimate responsive envelope. There's a recycled slipper board, so it gives you a shedding device, at the same time gives you a proper daylight also. This is a tower which works on a renewable energy. There are mist fans on the top which works on the solar energy. They kind of give the evaporative cooling in a mechanical way, and where you are having an active area, you have a beautiful mist coming to you and also gives you that spot cooling kind of an impact. And there are so many such measures have been adopted very successfully over there. My last case study, which is our own country, Auroville. This is something absolutely a role model. As many of you must be knowing that this was initiated and conceptualized by a French spiritual leader, where actually it respects the nature. There's a nucleus and all the development happens around the nucleus. Then this particular thought was taken ahead by the great urban planners in Auroville in 1986, and they created a galaxy model. And now it is seeing its actual execution mode, whereby the central urban development has given them an okay, and they are going to go live by 2025. This particular 5 square kilometer neighborhood would be developed. It's so brilliantly done by the people, with the people, for the people. Everything is pedestrianized. You can see the maximum pedestrianized distance is 24 minutes. So all the things that you need for your livelihood are within the reach of your 24-minute walking. You don't have any dependency on mechanical devices. You are happy because you are in connect with the nature. It's almost reaching to a net zero carbon emission. It will be also going towards a good quality of a net zero water and net zero energy. So I feel if this kind of exemplary performances, if they have been seen as a good role model and have been adopted into a megapolis also, it's quite doable that we can create a monocentric cities, not a polycentric cities. So there is a lot that one can talk about, but due to paucity of time, I would kind of conclude here and say that these are the examples that our young peers should see it very carefully. All the people in Auroville, they are very happy to share their knowledge. During this pandemic, they gave a brilliant presentations, and it was a great take home for all of us. So finally, if you want to achieve a good integrated design approach, there has to be an inclusive approach. There has to be a life cycle design analysis. You have to have a good assessment, have a proper evaluation, and ensure that all that you have designed is being executed in a proper way. I would end my presentation by saying, which is very relevant for today's forum, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeep. We couldn't have asked for better for such a well expressing the subject, and so well done and so nicely covered projects from India to Dubai to China. Now it's the time to introduce my very good friend. It's going to be pretty difficult to introduce a friend. A voracious speaker who claims all his successes because he's a bachelor. And when we are together, he always says that I'm happily unmarried. And Rajiv, your problem is you're unhappily married. Anyway, that's Ravindra Kumar. He is an architect. He heads 2 firms there in Bangalore, having global practice, Venkatraman Associates and Prague Group. His strength has been his providing innovative design solution to the emerging project trends in Asia, keen understanding of the complex needs of urbanity and reconstructed for innovation, specialization on laboratory facilities, technology campuses and R&D facilities, done very good projects in India, like Lupin, like Boeing, you name it, he has a very good footprint in most of the places in India. Prague Group is his private research lab and architecture studio pioneered in rigorous, sustainable approach to design. He leads as a founder principal for the research lab. Talking about his publications, associations, visiting faculty projects, it runs into 420. You can check his website for that. He has a phenomenal studio in Bangalore with an amphitheater of 200% capacity where he organizes the music side of him. He has concerts every 45 days. And due to COVID, everything has taken a standstill. I think there is one coming up next week. I can talk a lot of bad things about him, which I would refrain. But my dear good friend Ravindra Kumar, I hand you the floor.
Thank you, Rajiv. That's the most invigorating kind of introduction that I've ever received. Very clean slate, all open. Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. All of you, dear friends, and also people who have connected to the webinar. My greetings to all of you and wish you the best. Let me not, I think we are growing out of time, so I'll try to keep it short and immediately try and jump on the presentation bit. You'll have to allow me to share the screen, I think. Is that the way it is?
Given the access, sir, you can share your screen.
I can share the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. 1 second. Sorry, 1 second, some glitch.
Problem?
1 second. I think, are you able to see the screen?
No.
No. Or have you shared it with Rajiv? Then he can put it on his screen.
Okay, so let me do that. It's a very heavy file.
Ravi, just follow 3 steps. Go on a share screen. There will be an icon saying share. Press that and then open your presentation.
Yeah, that's what I tried. It goes to systems preference. For some reason, it's sorry, 1 second.
Normally, when we select the share entire screen option, it should work now. We could go into the panel discussions and come back for the keynote. It's not proper, but I think we have no choice with the time running out. Jabin, what do you say?
We can do that.
Ravi, with your permission, can I move to the next one? Harsha, in the meantime, can you please coordinate with Architect Ravi, because his keynote address would be so interesting. I don't want to miss out on that.
I'm sorry, Rajiv, I'll have to log out and log in. That's what Zoom is telling me.
But let's wait for a minute. Otherwise, we'll push you to end of the session.
Yeah, do that. Go ahead. Please do that.
No, if you can come back, log in and come out in 1 minute, let's do it.
Yes, I'll do that.
I have a hard stop at 6:25.
Who is this now?
Ashish Rakeja. Ashish, want to come in. I have a hard stop at 6:25 for sure because I have been to be in another meeting.
So let's do one thing. Let's go into the panel.
Yeah, let's take the panel now so that I do exact 30 minutes. 5:15, I'll finish it off.
Perfect. And then Ravi can come in. Perfect. So we are on.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So let me welcome Ashish Rakeja. He's a partner at Aeon Consultants, postgraduate degree in thermal engineering from IIT Delhi. Seasoned consulting engineer, designed 3,000 projects, including hotels, airports, retail, residential, commercial, high-rises, you name it, he's been there. He specializes in high-performance buildings and actively involved in large design activities of electromechanical services for 10 net zero buildings, 2 net zero water townships, over 60 platinum-rated green projects in India. His ideal choice for our moderator, as recommended by Mr. Suresh, he is spearheading the green building movement in India in his capacity role as chairman, technical committee for Indian Green Building Council. He has won numerous awards and delivered more than 1,000 four-figure talks on various building services. May I now welcome Ashish. You already have your panel with you, and I wish you all the best. And let's have a very interesting session. Welcome, Ashish.
Thank you so much, Rajiv, and good evening, everyone. And congratulations to all the 6 organizations for starting this brilliant association, I would say. And what a beautiful name. And great presentation, as always, from Sandeep, dear friend. I also have now the opportunity to follow up on what he started with. It's going to be a panel discussion with the Satsang on the integrated approach to built environment. Very interestingly, when I was speaking to all of them individually, it's interesting to note that we have started stepping into the net zero world. And you're aware, as President, the chairman from IGBC spoke about it, Gurmeet spoke about it. Everybody seems to be going towards the net zero world, where I think the fundamental requirement is an integrated approach, because you cannot get into something without, get into a net zero world without having an efficient design or efficient built environment. That's the fundamental requirement. Now, I have 6 eminent representatives from each of the organization. I'm just going to quickly, since the time is only 30 minutes for the 6 speakers, along with that, there are a couple of questions. So I'm just going to introduce their names. I think a brief about them is there on the screen. Is Mr. S. Karthikeyan from IGBC. He is a principal counselor there and carries over 20 years of experience. From ISHRE, we got C. Subramaniam, who's a lead fellow and who's also the principal consultant, SSS consultants, with nearly 40 years of experience. We've got Mr. B.O. Prasanna Kumar. He's representing Indian Plumbing Association and nearly over 30 years of design experience with him. Then we got architect Rajiv Sathe, and again, a huge experience behind him, representing Triple ID, a design firm. Then we got Ashwin Jantkar from Epsilon Design Consultancy with an experience of 25 years and representing Fire and Security Association of India. And finally, Mr. Krantikaran Reddy, who's the managing director at Japriya, which is a developer organization representing CREDAI. So we have these 6 great speakers. My apologies, I'm not going very detailed in terms of their profile, but they are all well known in their own way in this area. So let me start with the questions, because we do need to keep the time, and I'll start with the IGBC, Indian Green Building Council, because the whole concept of the integrated building approach started with the green building movement in India. Karthikeyan, if you're there. Yeah, I'm there, Ashish.
Okay,
Thank
you're
you.
there very much. Sorry, there's so many people on the screen that I was trying to locate you there. So, Karthikeyan, with this green building movement, 20 years back, we brought the concept of the integrated approach to built environment. And we said there are a lot of benefits. Of course, we have seen that. India today has a huge green footprint. Chairman talked about more than 7.7 billion square feet. But at the end of the day, green buildings still remain confined to a small percent of project. It's been always a top-down approach. It's not been a bottom-up approach. Now, what is IGBC doing to grow the awareness and to push its net zero agenda? Because you've already made a public announcement that 2030, you'd like to enter the net zero world, which is the World Green Building Council directive, or rather the vision. So what are you doing as IGBC to grow the awareness, to push your net zero agenda in a holistic manner in the building sector, in the built environment?
Thank you. Thank you.
2.5 minutes to answer.
Yeah, sure. I'm fully aware of the time constraint. Thank you for this question, Ashish. As you rightly put it, a lot of things need to be done, especially for having a larger penetration with respect to both green buildings as well as the net zero concepts. When you say green building itself has penetrated only a little, the net zero probably it has just started. We are starting on top of the pyramid. Very few companies they started adopting the net zero concepts in their own buildings and built environment. I'm looking at three broader things we need to work on. Of course, IGBC is working on these three aspects. Number one, if you look at the demonstration of the benefits is the key for the penetration of these concepts. Unless we demonstrate why the stakeholders need to adopt these concepts, what is the benefit for each of the stakeholder, that need to be clearly demonstrated. That is the way the green building also has taken up a lot in the last 2 decades. The same is the case with the net zero also. We started working on demonstration of the benefits, why they need to adopt, how this is going to benefit each of the stakeholders, say the developer or the end user. So that is one part. Right now, about 50 projects are working in this direction, and they started seeing the benefits in terms of reduction in energy consumption, or whatever the going for renewable energy concepts, how they are going to make business sense for them. This is point number one. The second is we need a kind of enabling environment for this movement to pick up. We have to work on an ecosystem. If a developer wants to go for a net zero project, he should not struggle with the system here. They need support from every stakeholder. So then there is a need for a kind of capacity building from the service provider's point of view. There is a need for bringing all the technology suppliers together, and also a need for bringing in all the renewable energy related systems. So there is a need for a kind of ecosystem that need to be built around, so that it enables the developers or the end users to adopt these concepts. So this is the point number two. And the third is, obviously, without the policy interventions, we will not be able to make it big. So from IGBC point of view, we are working with the government and the policy regulators in terms of what kind of incentives that need to be brought in, because the incentives were key for the success of the green building movement as well. So on similar line, what is the kind of incentive we can look at? Of course, I keep this as the last because the net zero need to stand on its own. The incentives need to come later. The same thing had happened in case of green building also. When we started the green building movement in 2001, 2002, there was no incentive, but the incentive started coming in the late 2010 only. The similar would be the case here also. So if we are working on
this, I think that sounds good. Sure. I have a follow-up question, Karthikeyan, on the same thing. We are talking of the net zero, of course, the wide world. There are many things happening in the net zero. Speak about water, energy, materials, carbon. Now, if you look at the net zero energy buildings, which is the prime focus today, the focus is on energy efficiency, because even the green rating system talks about 70% of the credits being given with respect to energy efficiency and the 30% being given with respect to the renewable. Now, as we are pushing towards the carbon neutrality, there's a bigger world out there. IGBC is talking about the carbon rating system also, the carbon footprint rating system also. Now, what changes do you see in the construction industry in future? How does the whole thing come together? Excellent. So obviously the going towards carbon neutrality or net zero carbon is going to be a big challenge from the construction industry point of view. That is the reason we started with the easiest steps to start with the net zero energy, net zero water. So this becomes a stepping stone for the people to go towards net zero carbon. Let us look at in three broad areas. Okay, what is that need to be done at the design stage from the construction point of view? The second, during the construction, what need to change? And third, with respect to, during the operation and maintenance. During the design stage, what we believe is, the construction sector also need to address its supply chain. If the building has to become net zero in terms of the carbon footprint, the supply chain also should move towards net zero. That means we need to look at the products and materials which can go net zero. They have to bring down their carbon footprint so that the overall embodied carbon of the building itself has to come down. The question is how this is going to make a business sense. It's a very big question we need to address in a detailed manner. But the point is, going towards net zero carbon also makes business sense for all the product manufacturers. So they need to work on this, reduce the carbon footprint. So the building sector necessarily need to address the supply chain during the design stage itself. So unless we all work together, you don't see that happening at all.
Yeah, that is something which is very, very important from making the building sector carbon neutral. Number one.
Thank you, Karthikeyan. Karthikeyan, your just last point to make. Go ahead.
Yeah. I have 2 points, kindly allow me. One is with respect to construction. Of course, construction, there could be a lot of changes in terms of making it carbon neutral. It could be related to the modularity, or it could be related to, the prefabricated structures, etc., etc. Those need to bring in the construction. The third, with respect to operation and maintenance, obviously, more and more energy efficient technologies, the technological intervention is going to play a key role. And that is the kind of change we are looking at in the building sector to make it carbon neutral. We need to work on the renewable energy systems and the energy efficient technologies. So without this, making a carbon neutral construction sector is difficult. So we need to look at all the 3 areas in terms of making it carbon neutral or moving towards net zero.
Thank you, Karthikeyan. Thank you so much. You tried to be as precise as you could in this, so you had a lot to say. I'll move on to Kranti now. The reason is Karthikeyan just picked up the subject about developers also taking that responsibility. Now, Karthikeyan, you are the youngest of our panelists, and you come from an organization which is actually developing. So, and you represent CREDAI. So let me ask you, the main thing that comes up with construction industry is the construction debris and our landfills, which are becoming a big challenge, where the major contribution comes from, again, the construction debris itself. Now, where the construction debris is not only about the cement and the bricks that we are seeing, but it comes from everybody who's there at site. Now, when we are talking of this net zero objective, especially the net zero waste buildings, what is it that you're seeing that the developers and as well as the CREDAI is planning to do in this area? How do you grow that awareness? Because the world is moving to net zero.
Firstly, thank you for having me here, Ashish. I hope I'm audible to everybody. The question that you bring about construction debris, there are 2 kinds of debris I feel that happen on a project. One is that is created on site. We make a brick, we make the plastering on the brick, and then we start chipping it all together. This kind of debris is caused because of lack of planning. We have architects here who have actually shown BIM is the way to go forward and everything. But I think consolidated with BIM construction technology, shear wall construction, precast construction is something that needs to be promoted by CREDAI and all the industry leaders so that the wastage is limited to a certain extent. In precast construction, it's limited to the factory. There is a method that you can handle it at the factory. If it is a shear wall construction, then you are completely avoiding brick, you are avoiding chipping, you are avoiding so many other factors in planning of the building and the project that will not create certainty. The second point that comes to my mind is the manufacturers. While we are worried about, if we go to a shop, we get stuff in a plastic cover and we ban the plastic up there, you should just see the amount of plastic that comes in to the site when we order material. It is actually humongous. You get cardboard, you get plastic. So while the developers have to come to a solution in terms of how to handle each kind of that material waste, plastic has to be handled in a certain way, the cardboard has to be handled in a certain way. I think the manufacturers also have to take forefront lookout in terms of how to pack their material, how to consolidate the packing of the material, because this is the largest kind of debris actually that happens on site during finishes. If you look at when the structure of the building goes up, the debris is actually much lesser than the finishes that happen on the project.
So Kranti, what should we all do? The question still remains that how do we implement this? Is there something that I would like to take up? Who should do that?
I think a couple of things. First, I think with the manufacturers, we all have to take it up probably with CII as an association, and CREDAI has to take the forefront role in educating the developers, in educating the smaller developers, the medium scale developers and the larger developers on how to handle waste. Apart from that, I think we have to take it up with the manufacturers, with their respective associations in terms of how to not use non-disposable materials that have to come to site.
Okay, fair enough. Now, as in fact, Karthikeyan spoke about the modular construction and prefabricated. Now, there's talked about the 3D printed buildings. Everybody is moving into rather than site fabrication, we move on to factory fabrication. So even the buildings will be factory fabricated and brought there. So this is where the whole concept is moving. Now that of course would mean bringing down the waste at site also. But tell me, what are the challenges that you see as a developer? The preparedness of the industry members, because it's about the whole integrated process. It's not about just the developer moving there. It's the designer, is the architect, is all the stakeholders. They need to be prepared for it. What do you see the challenges to move in this area? Because that will be a truly integrated environment then.
Again, it starts with the developer. The developer has to start believing that he needs to get all his designs done at the beginning of the project. We are, in India at least, we are very used to starting the foundation, then wait for the drawings for the top floors. That won't work in technologies like 3D printing or in precast. You have to have your designs upfront. And having your planning and designs upfront will help you to implement any of these technologies. The second missing thing is the ecosystem. I have personally done some precast buildings. I had to procure the plant myself. I had to get the designs from a different country in those days. Now designs are not a problem. And then get the whole thing executed. But a developer cannot have a precast plant. So the ecosystem has to develop. There should be a manufacturer of walls. There should be a manufacturer of slabs. The builder should be able to procure from 4 or 5 different parties. So this is the way the ecosystem has to develop. And until the ecosystem fully takes an entire turnaround, it becomes a very difficult thing to implement something like precast. If you look at Finland, a very small country, it has almost every 2 miles, it has got a precast plant, small or big. Every small or big contractor or a manufacturer has a precast manufacturing unit. The developer and the architect and the structural engineer only coordinate with them in terms of what kind of panels need to be bought and what kind of panels need to be made. The developer has to procure the panels.
So tell me, Kranti, is CREDAI doing something about it? What is CREDAI's position on that?
There is been a debate about standardizing the buildings, or standardizing the panels, I might say, working with the precast codes in India to standardize such kind of panels. I mean, you need to have a design for a 3-meter wall and a 4-meter wall and a 5-meter wall. And then that's how I think we are trying to solve the system. That's when a manufacturer will be able to then say that, a 3-meter wall means this is the kind of steel, this is the kind of concrete that goes into it, so I can keep it ready. So I think CREDAI as an organization is trying to work with the code of making the precast plants and making the precast.
Thank you, Kranti. Thank you so much. Thank you for your great responses. Moving on to FSAI, I'm keeping them right in the middle because fire is a very still, we all know the importance of it, but still it seems to get left behind. Ashwin, you're there? Yeah, I can see you.
Yes, I'm there.
So how do we integrate, Ashwin, the needs of the fire and life safety in a built environment, which is, of course, of a paramount importance? What is FSAI doing to grow the awareness amongst all the stakeholders? When I say all stakeholders, starting from architects to developers to everyone, because in the integrated design process, fire also plays an important role. So what is FSAI doing there?
Yeah, so I think there are two parts to your question. First part is to do with what can we do to ensure that in a built environment, fire and life safety is integrated tightly. I think fire and life safety is extremely important because it looks at protecting not only the property itself, but also the people and the processes that you intend to do in that built environment. So it's an extremely important aspect of the whole integrated design approach that one should be taking, as architect Sandeep Shikra also talked about. It's the whole process is an integrated approach, and fire and life safety plays an extremely important role. Now, how do we achieve that? So if I have to give a very straight and a very stale answer to it, I would say that yes, you need to comply to code. So we have the building codes, which actually tell us how to design the building as such that it is safe for people and the processes to happen. And there are design codes that help us actually design the MEPF systems to meet the building guidelines. But I would like to go a little bit further and say that actually you can achieve this by ensuring that we inculcate in ourselves a spirit of compliance, not just meeting the codes or meeting the norms, but developing and inculcating in the entire society a spirit of compliance to such codes, which means that inherently an HVAC engineer will have to ensure that, say, for example, the insulation that he selects has got the proper fire rating, or the dampers that he selects to ensure that there is a fire compartmentation between two fire compartments complies to the codes, or an electrical engineer for that matter has to ensure that the discrimination studies are properly done. He uses the correct ratings of the MCCBs and the MCBs, so on and so forth. So the stakeholders have to look at these codes as not impediments or encumbrances in their aesthetic or their budget.
So what is FSAI doing about it?
So FSAI is doing a huge lot of work in this particular field in terms of ensuring that all the users, the industry as a whole, we are promoting a lot of such fire and life safety tenets by ensuring trainings, seminars, publications. We represent the industry as a whole, both the ways, to the government as well as back to the industry, and ensure that the word is spread around and the importance of life safety is drilled across the minds of such complete industry.
Sure. Thank you.
I think just one last point. Suresh mentioned about the launch of the Suraksha Index, which is going to go a long way in ensuring that buildings try to get themselves rated on the FSAI authored code, which will ensure that you and me, when we walk into a building, we are sure what kind of a building we are walking into.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I think Suraksha Index is a great initiative by FSAI. Just one more thing, taking you completely away from fire. We talk about AI and OT because I know you do a lot of building automation systems. So we talk of AI, IoT, it's coming, it's there. India is also embracing it very strongly. Yeah. What is that role do you see them playing in the integrated built environment now going forward?
Yeah, I think, basically any kind of automation plays a very important role in a built environment. Of course, energy efficiency is something that everyone talks of, but not just energy efficiency. Achieving the green compliance is another important aspect. I think the IGBC is also a part of the Satsang, and they will understand what I'm trying to point out is that automation plays an important role over there. We try to ensure through automation that we use our electromechanical utilities most optimally, and also ensure that the building is overall maintainable even after, let's say, 4 to 5 years down the line when the building actually comes of use. IoT brings up a different spectrum of activity altogether, because here now we are talking of connecting our actuators and our sensors directly to the cloud, doing computing on the cloud, and delivering results on the cloud directly on the your handsets and your PDAs and your laptops without having a local station which does all these calculations. And this is a great feature because it brings down a huge amount of cost. There's very little cabling that you need to do, very little servers and infrastructure that you're building because it's already there on the cloud. So that in that way, it is going to add to a lot of cost saving. Not only that, with AI, when you talked about AI also, artificial intelligence is going to make the built environment really smart, because now the buildings the AI can actually track the performance of the building and try to bring intelligence and CapEx and OpEx maximization by using algorithms that are built into it. So that's how I think AI and IoT moving forward can definitely bring a lot of intelligence into the built environment.
Sure. Thank you, Ashwin. Thank you so much. Moving on to Indian Plumbing Association. Who do we have there? Prasanna, you're there? Right, I see you.
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
Right. So now we just heard about IGBC commitment and net zero energy, net zero water, in fact, net zero world, we are talking about it. But on the other side, the plumbing industry itself lacks the benchmarks, good benchmarks. There's a poor execution. There's a lack of awareness about water efficiency. Even Gurmeet spoke about the same thing. Now, what is IGBC doing to push this agenda amongst all the stakeholders? Because it cannot be just the user. It has to start from a designer to construction to a user to everyone. What is IGBC doing there?
IPA.
Sorry, what is IPA doing there?
IPA, yeah. You correctly touched upon, even Mr. Karthikeyan, he has taken the point at net zero, but net zero among this is for IPA is net zero water. First of all, I'll thank IID for connecting all together to discuss on very eminent, important topics on this. And particularly, Ashish, on your question on net zero by IPA, what we are doing, and it's always a very good contributing thing which IPA only can do it in a big way. It is a thought-provoking for us. For example, the water, we know that it's a precious and very infinite. People think it is an infinite, but it is a finite resource that critical to every person being entire on this planet. So particularly, it is also a resource increasingly difficult to obtain. So I'm just trying to connect this net zero, why this is so important. With our rapid economic growth and growing population, increasing per capita average water availability in India is also becoming a cause of concern here. So throughout the world, and certainly in India, the communities are facing significant water-related challenges. As you rightly said, and Mr. Karthikeyan also made a point, the United Nations, they have set a record. By 2030, that is about 40% of that water, we are requiring more water by 2030. That's why that goal is set by IGBC as well. And considering the present situation, this water conservation has become necessary for every building project and built environment. So we need to keep a slab of cutting the water utilization by some percentages we need to fix year by year on the newer projects. So once you come into the what exactly is the net zero building, a net zero building that is constructed or renovated, both put together, is there are three things. One is minimum total water consumption. We need to minimize the total water consumption is one, and maximize the alternate water resources. And third is the minimize the waste discharge and from the buildings and return that water to the original water source. So these are the goals in which IPA is also working on that to meet the requirement to.
Thank you, Prasanna. Thank you so much.
Another one is I want to make a point. Now we are not only moving from net zero, near net zero water to net zero water, and we need to put our milestone to net water positive classification. This is where we need to move. It is not the net zero we are stopping here. I have a last point to make. IPA along with IAPMO, we are jointly released a green supplement outlining the voluntarily provision of the water efficiency and water reuse strategy. There is a very important code which we are already made it, so consultant can make use of, developer can make use of. This is what is the order of the day, Ashish, now.
Thank you, Prasanna. Thank you so much. I'll move on to Ishre now. And Subbu, there you are. Okay.
Yeah. Yes,
so, Subbu, I'm going to ask you one very, very relevant question. I'm going to limit you to one question now. Where Ishre has been a leader now, there's something called indoor environmental quality. You know, this is a new green where people are talking wellness, everybody's talking about it now. And Ishre took the lead there. Now tell us, how does the integrated approach helps to achieve this objective, and what is Ishre's initiative in these areas?
Yeah, thank you, Ashish. As we all know, IEQ is getting more and more, prominent, and every common man has come to understand it given the current unprecedented situation. And we are talking about built environment space, and since every material that goes into the built environment space has an impact on the building performance for the owners and the end user and occupant from the IEQ perspective. Now, what in my opinion is, it becomes prerogative for the practitioners, design practitioners and executioners to have to refer to the industry standards now. It's very, very, very important that, there is a common standard. We should not be groping in the dark. And only then the design will be sustainable. Buildings are going to perform the way it is intended to, and the owners and have dreamt it to be. And there is another important point that we have to constantly enhance our knowledge and capability levels, as otherwise we'll become obsolete. No, there is a lot of talk, from a common man to right up to a researcher, people are talking about IEQ and microbes and, COVID and so many things on IEQ. So expectations and needs are increasing. And I feel at this point of time, this Satsang and coming together of 6 association societies, I feel that it has got great relevance. It can conduct a lot of awareness programs to every owner, designer, stakeholders. And you know that Ishre was the first one to develop that IEQ standard, and you were there chairing that. And it's very, very relevant that IEQ, I think that everybody wants to follow, but where is the standard we are talking about? And we can't be looking at a standard outside India. We can't take something from there and put it here. The IEQ standard, which was developed by Ishre, and that is got promising, future. And I think every association right now here under this umbrella, we can all come together like this, maybe conduct very quarterly programs, reach out to everyone. And because I think owners and industry, they want every designer to be capable in the other design also, not only their own design. An architect should be a good MEP engineer, and MEP engineer should have a knowledge of good architectural practice. A plumbing engineer should know HVAC engineer should know. How can that happen? This can happen only when we have an integrated approach like this. We shall start breaking the boundaries, trying to know, a little bit about others, the most important things which will impact the building performance. I think that's—
Thank you, Subbu. Thank you so much. I think wonderful. In fact, the whole initiative of Ishre on the IEQ has gone to different level here. In fact, has helped India to go there. Incidentally, the IGBC wellness rating, health and well-being rating, is based on the IEQ standard only. So
it's very nice that the standard. I remember you chaired in Ishre. It has been developed by by IGBC. Also has adopted it in the reference in the rating standard, and I think we look forward to working more closely, Ishre, with other association societies right here under Satsang.
Sure.
The way, the power of coming together can reach to every nook and corner of India.
So I'll have to move on to the next question now. Thank you. I think it's wonderful. That shows the true Satsang also. Yeah, so coming to the host, the last one, I saved the best one for the last. Coming to Triple ID, I think Sajan is there. So Sajan, I'm going to request you.
Sorry, I think there is a network problem. I don't know if he's here.
He's there. I can see him.
Perfect. That's good.
Sajan, you need to unmute yourself. Right. So just one question to you, especially on interior design. on one side, we are talking about built environment, and then the interior design needs to fit into, because that's where we are ultimately the user comes into the picture. With a shift towards the carbon neutrality, a lot of pressure is going to be on the materials. Now, how can interior designers play a role in making interior spaces environment conscious, in good indoor environmental quality, and integrating all the stakeholders? What can the interior designer and the Triple ID will do in that area?
Okay.
You'll have to speak louder.
I'm on my phone. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah. See, basically, I'm an architect, but nevertheless, I do interiors too. Now, to the answer to the question which you asked, see, we need much more awareness of products which are compatible to what what is required towards that. See, I find that the products available, the changes in that is moving extremely slowly. So what was available 5 years, only maybe 10 to 15%. So probably if that has to happen as quick as possible, every material or every product for a particular purpose must offer an option which is also available in a carbon neutral at least. Because right now I cannot think of other than our traditional things, which has always been there, the new designs, new products, hardly anything which is available, but it is happening. I mean, it is coming in, but a bit slow. That's what I would think.
Thank you, Sajan. Thank you so much. And can you also talk about what Triple ID is doing in the area of promoting the concept of energy efficiency, because you deal with everyone in terms of all designers, the users, the contractors, everybody is involved. And today, in fact, the interior design is all becoming about design and build assignments. So what is Triple ID doing in terms of bringing in the concept of energy efficiency or integrated designs? There's some work being done in that area?
Yeah, well, there are many initiatives which have started, including for low cost, at a lower cost items, in which we are trying our best to encourage people to go in towards, to get this as a principle of doing anything, to not be so dependent on products which are not carbon neutral, let's say. But as I said, Triple ID by itself can do only give ideas or put people on the track. I think it's a very much an individual thing, an individual like to do that, or an individual goal which one can set, because we can't enforce something like this on it. But nevertheless, Triple ID is giving so many opportunities, so many seminars in which such matters are discussed and encouraged.
Thank you, Sajanji. Thank you. And that brings us to the end of the panel. I'm sorry we cannot take any questions. I had 30 minutes given to me. I've gone to about 35 minutes. So sorry about that, Rajiv, just 5 minutes overrun. But I had 6 stalwarts to manage. And I think the concept has come out very well in terms of the importance of the integrated design process. As I said, right in the beginning itself, as we move to more efficient world, carbon neutrality, of course, being the ultimate objective, water, energy, carbon, waste, everything would start falling into place. I think that there is a need for us to work together. The more these kind of societies and the movements come together, I think we are going to see a better world out there. So thank you very much. I'm grateful to all the panelists for giving their time. I'm sorry that we couldn't go in terms of more questions because of the time shortage. So over to you, Rajiv.
Thank you, Ashish. I think in the 30 minutes, we covered the basic questions and everybody touched, and I think we are on the right track. And I'm sure Satsang has more and more events coming, and at least we know the response is good. The discussions are active, and thank you, Ashish, for very well managing it. Let me go back to Ravindra Kumar. And this time I'm not introducing him again. Ravi, over to you.
Thank you. I hope all of you can hear me. Good evening again. I'm sorry there was a bit of a glitch on the system change that I did, and my administrator had done some settings, which is awkward. So I'm back on the space here. To continue with what Shirke mentioned, that was a good capture of sort of assembling all the aspects of what we were looking at. Some of the things that we do most of the times as architects or service engineers needs to also understand the aspect that how do we, include a sense of austere understanding to what we do. For example, we have to include the idea to reduce, reuse, and recycle, henceforth, anything that we do. I think when we go to such a capture, the stages of the life cycle, everything comes included as parcels of that. I will share some examples directly. For example, this is our simple office that we did where there was an existing structure which was built before independence. So we kind of assembled the whole building using the most minimum possible footprint on the structure in terms of building with re-engineered timber, re-engineered steel, recycled steel, concrete which had the maximum amount of fly ash, not mess up the roads and streets around during construction, try and do prefabricated, so that the whole structure and the elements of making of such an office space becomes an example that you actually recycle every element that has gone into making the space, as also to use less amount of material in everything that was incorporated into making of the space where we sit and work and voice opinions to our clients. It's very important that in such a space, architecture dominates the idea of space. It's very important we have to articulate and make the experience complete. And as Rajiv accurately mentioned, it's kind of a space where we enjoy every form of art, whether it's dance or it is music or it is doing the design, meeting people, or having a lunch or a dinner or drink together. It's very important that we must measure what we do. And this graph exactly explains as to why we have to rethink the way we think concrete, rethink the way we think brick. How do we use steel or any kind of natural material in a new content and see what is its carbon footprint on the planet? And it is important to measure the accuracy of the wall. Most of the time, we refuse to understand specifications by the nature, not only of its aesthetic, but we must understand by the nature of its statistical measure as to what is its impact to the nature. So these are some of the slides that I can share later on with any interested individuals. They can write to me. And these are available as embodied energy, as included to what happens to the planet. For example, how does wood behave, with respect to, its generated waste, or in terms of the rehabilitation, or when we demolish the building, how much can you reuse the material content back into working conditions? Simple elements. For me, I think using the passive system of how we condition our buildings are very, very important, especially when you live in the tropical world, and move away from what the West does and be impressioned by the idea of how it is done. And it is possible to do in different scales. For example, these systems of secondary walling system we have adopted quite effectively in some of the new building technologies that we have done. Even when you do a system like this, for example, with glazing, it is possible to execute for very large structures. What I showed you was our 25,000 square feet office space, which was all built out of steel, timber, and recycled fly ash content concrete. Whereas a project of such a scale, which is 375 crores built for a laboratory practice, it was almost 12,000 rupees per square feet. But the finesse of how the material used again here, and the aspects of ideas as what we see as green initiatives that we do in an austere building is also applied back here. So what we looked at, how we did the landscape, how we connected the glazing systems with intense vegetation, and how we looked at the fin aspects of it, which is again done out of timber, which is re-engineered, create very large kind of overhang spaces, which allow good shading to the glass, ensure that the glazing or the workspaces inside become part of the landscape. And you almost feel like it's a pavilion, you're sitting in a garden. You don't really feel that you are actually part of a laboratory space or an office space. You completely get milieused into the natural landscape and the intense ground that is there on the bottom. And obviously the landscape cannot grow beyond 18 to 20 meters. And that's when we change the skyline of the building and build up a new crown for the services and the activities of how that happens. And here you can see on the right side, the double walling system, an element that we introduced, how to shade the glass that you touch and you radiate and feel from the inside. So carefully layers of materials was incorporated, and in every measure, we tried to go back and look at how we can use less materials. Do not need to plaster surfaces. You can use minimum amount of rail work. You can use minimum amount of wall finish lines on the inside. How do you engineer a steel structure which can be, structurally very innovative, but at the same time use lesser steel in how it can be done rather than look at conventional ways, secondary elements of shading for large glass surfaces. So this was one of our experiments which we recently completed for a large facility, and which was just a G+4 structure. Now moving back to an idea where if you go high rise, now this is a property which I've been working since 2002 in Andheri, very close to the airport, which is a 27-acre campus, which is called as the Nirlon campus. We were privileged to be recognized as one of the most green buildings in the city, and it was recognized also by the retail and retail space area for recognizing this as the most energy efficient building. And we go back, though I started the project in 2001, we are finishing the last tower. We have gone back and reevaluated every tower in its performance. That's what architects must do. That's what engineers must do. Not only finish the job, but go back every 4 years, 5 years and see what is the performance criteria. How do they actually evolve and redefine the nature of its usage and performance? I think that is very important. And these are a couple of diagrams where we use advanced softwares to analyze and evaluate how each of these buildings work. Now, this is a kind of an aerial structure photograph of that particular zone where the buildings are formed. Now, this is, for example, this is the water that comes from every peapot in the building. It's coming out of all the toilets. Everything gets aerated, recycled, oxygenated, and goes back to recycle. And they're making more water than the water that they require. And it is possible to demonstrate on a very large scale project as this, which is almost 7 million square feet of built-up area, wherein you can incorporate, fact needs, like what I do in my office, we do in this building too. For example, the lower ground levels are all cladded with materials where if they go back to earth, they become earth again, such as glass. Of course, is also part of silica, but mostly terracotta. These buildings are all completely elemented with terracotta and natural slates and natural stones on the floor elements and the edges of the rampways and the walkways. And this also includes the aspect ratio of degradability. How do they transform? How do they change? And when the building eventually, maybe in 100 years, if they get demolished, what happens to the footprint of the building? What happens to the material content of the building becomes significantly important. You can see here the scale of the low-rise structures that we started as phase 1, where we kept a consistent model of how to use terracotta and glass in 2002. And we continued the language even in the new towers that we are building in 2021 after 20 years. And I'm very privileged that the client were very happy with us as architects and continued to work with us for 21 years. And they continue to work with us on many other facilities that they are building in other cities today. This is the nature of fenestration. We don't need an all-glass building to this country. We don't need an all-glass building to most other countries, though the south light and the daylight requisites of a building for lighting up the desks are very significantly important, but not necessary that we need to clad the whole surface of the building unless they are shaded. Like even in Lupin, we did go for an all-glass surface because we wanted the individual to stand in the floor plate and become part of the tree or part of the landscape. So therefore, we stretched the glass only for the first 2 or 3 floors where there was landscape connected to the indoor and the outdoor environment, and it would sufficiently shade the surfaces and kept the south wall completely black. So such necessities are done. Sometimes clients do ask me, is it possible to do that even in small elemental structures? This is an 8,000 square feet building, which we built for a house in Mangalore, very extreme weather conditions. And we apply the same ideas. We apply the same thoughts of how you deal with fenestrations, how you do with secondary walling systems for walls to insulate them. How do you create water features and allow northeast breeze and southwest breeze to enter into the campus? How do you ensure that the daylight incidence on the wall is protected from the interiors? And how do you make architecture and aesthetics appropriate and include that as part of the context and build with context? So that would be, I think, a true sense of evolution to understand how you build in a sustainability environment and integrate everything that you believe in to the approach of how you create your macro and micro environment. Thank you. Thank you, Jabin. Thank you, Rajiv.
Thank you, Ravi. As always, you touched it very well. Very nice, very crisp. Also, it remembers 2 years before all the sessions we used to have in your office. So I hope the time comes back. I think we have extended the program, stretched 30 minutes more. but I think it was a good experience for everybody. I would like to conclude very fast with the time slots already crossing the limit. One, Satsang is here to stay. We promise to the audience the expertise of the 6 organizations for the total built environment. We'll be interactive architect Sandeep and architect Ravi for the wonderful presentations, and of course to Ashish for the panel discussions. With this in mind, I thank each participant and also the viewers. Thank you very much.